Hi, and welcome back to the Grafana Alloy for Beginners series. I'm Jung, a staff developer advocate at Grafana. In the last episode, we used service discovery to find telemetry targets, scraped their metrics, and exported them to Mimir, our metrics backend. In this episode, we'll walk through how to expose, scrape, process, and export metrics from a Postgres database using Alloy. Before we begin, make sure you've watched episodes 1 through 6 and completed configuration sections 1 and 2. To get started, open the series repo and scroll down to section 3, Build a Pipeline for Infrastructure Metrics with Alloy Part 2. Quick reminder, each section starts with starter code, then tasks to explain the config and what you'll need, and finally a solution with a finished version. I'll skip the typing and walk you through the final config. You can still copy the starter code into config.alloy, try it yourself, and compare with the solution. If you haven't already, fire up the learning environment and open config.alloy. Here's what we're going to accomplish today. In our learning environment, we have a Postgres database. We'll use prometheus.exporter.postgres to connect to this database and expose its metrics. Then we'll scrape those metrics using prometheus.scrape and process them with prometheus.relabel. Then we'll use prometheus.remotewrite to export metrics to Mimir, our metrics backend. All right, let's do this. What you're seeing here is the prometheus.exporter.postgres component we labeled as mythical. This component connects to a Postgres database and exposes its metrics for scraping. To make that connection, we set the data source names equal to the database URL. This URL is included in the repo. Next, we'll use a prometheus.scrape component we labeled as Postgres to scrape metrics from the Postgres database. We set both the scrape interval and scrape timeout to 2 seconds for demo purposes. Under targets, we specify the targets exposed by prometheus.exporter.postgres.mythical component that we defined earlier. Then we use the forward to send the scraped metrics to the receiver of the prometheus.relabel.postgres component that we'll define next. Here we have the prometheus.relabel component to process the metrics, and we're using this component to add and modify labels on our metrics before sending them off. We defined 3 rule blocks here. Similar to the previous episode, we use the first 2 rule blocks to add 2 new labels, group set to infrastructure and service set to Postgres. All right, let's zoom in on the last rule block. We'll use this block to clean up an existing label called instance. Right now, the instance label holds a full address. We want to simplify that label by removing the PostgreSQL prefix so that it looks like this. And here's how we do that. We set action to replace to tell Alloy we want to replace a label's value. Then we set the target label to instance to mean that the label we're updating is called instance. Now, source label set to instance says we're pulling the value from the current instance label. And this regex tells Alloy to look for anything with the PostgreSQL prefix and capture what follows. Next, we tell Alloy to replace a value with just the captured part, leaving out the prefix. All right, then we're going to scroll up to the forward to argument. We're going to use this to tell Alloy to send our cleaned up metrics to the receiver of the prometheus.remotewrite.mimir component that we defined in section 2. In this section, we use the prometheus.exporter.postgres component to connect to and expose metrics from a Postgres database. Next, we scrape those metrics using the prometheus.scrape component. Then, with the prometheus.relabel component, we added group and service labels and cleaned up the existing instance label. Finally, we forwarded the process metrics to prometheus.remotewrite to export them to Mimir. As always, reload config.alloy after any changes. The command is in your repo. Run it and wait for the config reloaded message before moving on. Next, we'll verify that we've successfully exposed, scraped, processed, and exported metrics to Mimir. To do so, go to your series repo, scroll down to the verification section, click on the link here and select section 3 verification. You should see the dashboard filling with Postgres metrics, and notice the instance label now just shows the host and port without the PostgreSQL prefix. In this episode, we covered how we can expose, collect, process, and export infrastructure metrics with Alloy. Next up, we'll explore how to use the Alloy UI to debug pipelines we built. Thank you for watching. I'll catch you in the next episode.